Welcome everybody to what will hopefully probably be the final episode of Apocalypse World Rotten Skies. Um, my name is Kim. I will be the MC, and these are the players. Players, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Aaron, and I'm playing the show, who is the flamboyant entertainer of the big time.
And I'm Nick, and I'm playing Cheval, who is the less flamboyant but still flamboyant runner of the big time.
Hello, I'm Dave. I'm playing Quell, who is the water bearer on the flotilla and a peacekeeper, you might say, of sorts. And if it looks like I am at a weird angle, it is because there is a giant burning orb behind me.
I can hate when that happens.
Son.
Okay.
All right. So, I guess real quick, why don't we go and do stat marking and stuff like that, and get into it. Starting with the show.
Yeah, I have a +3 for Kefri, and then just +1s for everyone else. So whatever works.
All right. Well, why don't you pick a stat?
Well, I think the show will need to be cool, as he always is.
Given that he's currently riding on some kind of like bike airship thing that's being driven by someone who's like not here, yeah, it's gonna be real necessary real fast.
All right, I'm gonna pick weird.
Yeah, cool and weird.
We don't have a lot of time
Let's do
left in this campaign. We're gonna
Let's get funky.
All right. So Quell, who's your highest HX?
Cheval of the people here.
Oh, cool. I don't remember much about you because we only played together once, but considering what I like in this game, I'm going to highlight your hot.
Yeah.
I'll go weird
But,
again.
like,
I'm not only
gotta be
highlighting the
weird.
fact that you are hot, but I'm highlighting your hot skill as well.
But both.
And
Yeah, both.
I guess
So
Cheval.
I'm pretty sure Kefri is highest with me still, but I'm going
All
around.
right.
Let the
All
show
right.
pick one.
Let's highlight your sharp. I think
Yeah, you
there are gonna
got
be
it.
some stitches to read.
Sure, sharp.
And I'll go
And?
for 3 on weird.
Nice.
Ooh.
Everyone got to be weird.
Guys, let's make sure we're not weird at all this episode.
Just
Do things totally normal.
stuff.
Yeah.
Regular apocalypse things. And then well, I know Cheval, you have your beginning of session move, at the very least.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think anything that happened last time made it so that my leadership is being actively threatened at the moment. So I guess I could.
Not actively.
Yeah, I mean, it's like always a little bit under threat, but I think I could roll. I think I could roll legitimately on my hard. I get a 9, so same thing as last time. I have a surplus, but I think my wants are engaged.
Yeah, you gotta pick one. Pick a want.
Well, last time I did hunger, right? And I think we can kind of keep that going because of whatever. But how about?
Yeah, well, I mean, you didn't really solve the hunger thing, so it's definitely still an issue.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it's still an issue. How about the thing that can feed off of bad nutrition and stuff? Let's go with disease.
All right.
works.
And does anybody else have anything beginning of?
I don't think the show does, but Quell, do you have a?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing is that I like name how much jingle
Your
Cheval has to
leash hold.
spend on my lifestyle.
Yeah.
But if you've got a excess,
I got a surplus
then-
as usual. I think the only other thing is that now it's been a while since Quell was here. Unless he
Right.
already knows what's happening because he watched dutifully last
Well,
week.
I did watch some last week, All right.
All right. Well, so for
Surprise.
Quell and our many viewers, the really quick recap was that the food supply was getting into kind of dangerous territory. So Cheval, in his infinite wisdom, dispatched his trusty lieutenant Feather and a sizable amount of dusters to go raid something. And so off they went. I guess little did they know that the show and Kefri had gone along for a good time or something. They came upon a little boat, airship that seemed like a good target, and they swooped in. And as they attacked it, the Gnats, the gang that has bothered the big time in the past, also kind of came in, attacked the same target, and attacked the Dusters, and everybody took a bit of a beating. And as a result, the Dusters kind of had to retreat without grabbing maybe as much as they were hoping. And if I remember correctly, Kefri and the show had made off on one of the Gnats' kind of flying bikes. And
Right, and Cheval had a vision of like the Gnats coming for him. I think something in that vein, basically.
Something like that. So, we kind of fade in from black, and we see the underside of the big time, which is this big, dark, like mishmash of various airships, some metal, some wood, some scrapped together. There are like ropes and chains and exhausts hanging down and whatnot. And the camera kind of like views this whole thing from above. It quickly rises up towards the bottom of the big time, kind of drifting towards the side. It goes up through a little exhaust port and kind of makes its way through the insides of an kind of indescript vessel, and it comes up into a dark room inside or in like kind of the hold of one of these many airships.
And the proton torpedo explodes, and the whole thing just goes up in a bunch of sparks.
It's been nice playing with you guys.
Crashes to the ground. Everybody's dead. Quick and easy.
Nice.
The camera kind of comes up into this dark room and focuses in on the center of it, upon which, or where there is a pedestal with an egg that seems to be kind of shaking slightly. And then the camera kind of like pans around, and you can see that on the floor in a circle there are bodies kind of lying around, probably at least like a dozen bodies or so, and you can kind of hear like flies buzzing as if these bodies might have been dead for a little bit of time. And then as the camera kind of swings around 360 degrees and shows a circle of decaying bodies, it swings back upon the egg, and you see with a shock from the inside, a crack runs down through the egg, and like a little piece of shell flies off, and we cut to
John Hammond saying, "Push, push, little one, push."
Yeah,
we cut to Cheval saying like 12 less mouths to feed on the big time. I'm okay with that.
Let's see what's up with Quell. As was mentioned, things have been a little rough on the big time because food has not exactly been abundant lately. Well,
was Quell here when I wasn't here? Because I don't know anything that went on with Quell. If so,
yeah, I mean, you missed the session where Quell kind of oversaw this meeting between the show and this cultist.
Okay, but nothing
lady.
else like monumental happened to him that I need to know about.
No, I don't think so.
All right.
So Quell, tell us what's going on in the still. How are you dealing with the fact that the scarcity of food has now led to disease cropping up, and as normally happens, people come and seek medical help and supplies at the still.
It's been a trying time. Certainly, there have been times like these before. As always in the apocalypse, food gets scarce sometimes. So Quell remembers other times when this has been the case. People are agitated, but Quell and his followers are doing what they can. They lead a daily prayer session / yoga healing at the source, which helps bring the power of healing from the source to as many as are able to attend.
So yeah, let me ask you that. So this prayer session, so let's say like you're in the middle of it right now. People are gathered. This is what, like, out in like the front of the still on the ship that the still is on. Where does the prayer session?
Yes,
take
it's
place?
on the main deck.
What's it called again?
Um,
Isn't there like a
although-
name for your?
The still.
The still.
Oh, that's it. Okay, that's at the still. I get it. Okay. Go ahead.
Usually, this kind of thing would be done in a smaller room on the still. However, with these kind of trying times, trying to help as many as we can, the ceremonies have been moved to the main deck to fit more people. The main kind of ritual is done by my follower Treetop. She does the kind of healing work. She's been studying that for many years, and the source provides an energy with which she's able to provide healing to people.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and-
So Treetop is kind of doing her usual thing. There's kind of a normal ceremony. Usually, like, you guys will pass around like a little bit of like a blessed pail. Everybody will take a sip, but there's just so many people that it's hard to do that. And in the meantime, she'll kind of say her regular little ritual where she praises the still and the importance of it and the importance of like peaceful kind of
Don't
going
make it
on
sound so flippant, Kim. That shit's
on the-
important.
Yeah, well, but the problem is that because there's so many people, things are getting a little out of hand. And you can see that Treetop is kind of losing the crowd a little bit as people are getting restless. People are trying to get at this like water pail that's being passed around. You can just hear murmurs from the crowd as there seems to be, there's a lot of confusion and doubt. And in between it, you can hear people like coughing. Obviously, they're in a bad way. It seems like you might need to step in.
Quell is there. Quell is standing on the deck, maybe kind of behind Treetop and keeping an eye on everything. And basically, the moment things get out of hand, Quell tells Treetop to end the session and to come back into the cabin. Too dangerous at a time like this to hang around if the crowds are going to get violent.
All right, so as you're calling to her, it seems like the crowds are like they're kind of like pressing up and are about to like engulf where she is. So how are you gonna kind of get her to safety?
I'll go in there after her.
All right. Give me a act under pressure, I guess.
A cool roll.
or act under.
That was as cool as you can get.
Quell's been here before.
All right.
That was impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. All right. So yeah, you kind of like mash your way through the crowd, and as brazen as people are, they kind of realize your importance and that you are. They're hesitant to lay a hand on you, and the crowd seems to kind of make a bit of a path for you. You kind of part the seas, so to speak. You reach in and you grab Treetop and kind of push her out in front of you back towards the still, the inside of the still. And as you kind of back up, you could hear this crowd getting more and more agitated behind you, as you kind of back up and away from it.
Quell turns around to them and faces the crowd and calls out to them and says, "My children, this is a great time of strife and turmoil, and we are all suffering from the lack of food, but we must stay patient, for salvation will come."
I like the phrasing of "this is a great time of suffering."
As you say that, as you say, salvation will come. Give me a open your brain. Those words seem to resonate unnaturally.
MC's not fucking around.
Nine?
All right.
Decent.
All right. Yeah. So, like you say, like, right, salvation shall come, and all of a sudden you seem like you're like floating far above the big time, and kind of like see it in the distance below you, kind of sprawling out. And then as you kind of realize that that you're like falling rapidly towards it, suddenly a big dark winged bird-like creature seems to like swoop underneath you, and as it like catches you on its back. It's big enough that you can be on its back, and you see these jet black feathers kind of stretch out. It's this big wingspan, and it seems to like swoop up, and as just like that, you're kind of like back where you were, and you just see this crowd in front of you, seemingly stunned by whatever you just.
Seemingly caught by the vision, and in mid speech, Quell just kind of quickly turns and ushers Treetop back into the cabin and closes the door behind him to try to catch his breath and think, ruminate on the vision.
We'll cut across to the other side of the big time, where Cheval, you are watching as the remnants of your raiding crew are kind of on its way in.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, right, you can see, that like 3 of these assault boats went out, and the first thing you noticed, of course, was that only 2 of them seemed to be coming back. You can see Feather on the front of one of them as they come swooping in, and dock next to the big time. And well, yeah, I mean, I guess it was like kind of down the edge of the big time from the Encore, but they kind of have their little area where the dusters keep all their crap. So they come in and dock, and as they do, couple of dusters that you can obviously see a little worse for wear jump off and are helping some wounded guys.
Sure.
And Feather immediately starts barking orders for people to unload their loot.
Sure. So, Cheval is like used to this, right? Like the dusters are a fucking pack of hyenas, to quote the rule book.
Mhm.
These guys are savage. They're fucked up. They always go out. They're always successful, but like shit happens. We lose some of them. We kidnap new people and make them new ones. Like, you know, there's a rotation here. But this might not be like the worst time ever. But Cheval's feeling some weirdness, right? Like he's had a couple of visions recently about like the gnats. There was the incident over at the still recently that that kind of like shook him up, because it seems like there's just unrest on the big time. So he's like a little more concerned than usual about making sure that that the raid went off successfully, that there's like food around and stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, he would never let that on to anybody. Definitely not the dusters. But like, I don't know. Like he barely remembered to put on his Carmen Sandiego hat this morning when he left the office, and that's like he had to catch himself as he was walking out the door. He was like, "Fuck, my God."
So you notice immediately, by the way, that the hall is not really what you would expect. Not only is the dusters are fairly like worse off for wear, more so maybe than, you know, as you said, like there are an amount of acceptable casualties, but this is
Sure.
excessive. And on top of that, it doesn't look like they kind of have the haul that you would expect, especially for the cost that you seemingly have just paid.
Sure. So I take all that in, and I like stride right over it, and I grab Feather like by the ear,
Okay.
and I say like, "Feather, what the fuck?"
He says, "Look, boss. There was gnats there. They like dove in on us as soon as we attacked this little boat. I'd swear like the whole thing would have been over in 5 minutes, but they took us by surprise."
I say, "Gnats? That's not so good." I say, "But you taken by surprise?" And I like slap him across the face.
All right. Well, so like, what's your intentional slap of? You're just kind of just as like a punishment thing, or you're trying to actually
it's
hurt
a
him?
punishment. I also want to make the point that like apparently he's getting old and slow, and even I can catch him by surprise.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't like that.
I mean, nobody likes getting slapped across the face, Dave. I mean, situation dependent.
Some people are into that shit. We don't kink shame here.
I'm wondering if there's a move here that needs to be done. What are you
Because
trying?
I mean, like, it's
Are you-
definitely not strong enough for going aggro. I mean, if anything, it's like maybe it's like acting under fire. Because like I'm his boss, but he's also like a big, strong meathead. I don't know. You tell me.
Sure. Yeah. But act under fire. Because obviously, Feather is not like one
That's
to be
good because I'm
bossed
not
around.
cool at all. I'm like horribly uncool.
Perfect.
Oh God, I got a 7
All right.
with my -1.
So do something under fire on a 7-9. You flinch, hesitate, or stall. All right. So you like raise your hand to slap Feather, and you actually expect for him to kind of like flinch and like kind of take it, but like he doesn't react at all. Like he's almost like he doesn't really care, or that there's like a fear that was there that doesn't seem to be there. And as a result, you kind of hesitate, like you're gonna be like, almost like you flinched, right?
Right.
And
All right, well, I try to like turn it to my advantage. So I say, like, I guess, you, maybe you are getting slow, but I look like a little taken aback, and I kind of like beat a retreat more quickly than I would. I just say, like, well, get this stuff unloaded, and I like take off.
okay. Meanwhile, the show.
Yes.
Where has Kefri taken you?
That is a great question. I feel like shortly after we flew away from the battle, Kefri passed out.
Hmm.
You know,
course.
one of these things, he kind of comes in and out of being whatever he's doing. So I'm gonna try to grab a hold of the like steering situation on this air bike thing before something untoward happens.
Okay,
I mean, you
yeah.
could just push him off. It is the last session. Who cares?
Well, let's see. So yeah, you're kind of like at one point he's like flying for a little while, and you're telling some like story about a show you did a while back, and then like you kind of realize halfway through your story that it seems like Kefri has passed out. Maybe not like recently, and like this thing is spinning out of control. So
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
you kind of have to get it under control. So you give me an act under fire to
Stop boring your companion
All right.
to your death.
so
Listen, my story was fabulous. I can't help that there's something very wrong with that boy. Seven.
Man, we are squeaking by today.
you guys are just living on the
End of
edge.
the teeth.
All right, yeah. So I'll say this: you managed to kind of like crawl around, and kind of get into the in front of Kefri, who seems to be like dead to the world for whatever reason. But as you do, you manage to hit a switch on this like cobbled together air bike, and you hear the engine start to kind of sputter.
I will start flipping like every switch on this thing. Just like, this is not what the show does. He's not a motorcycle pilot, okay? He is a performer, and he just wants this thing to make beautiful music. So he's gonna start flipping switches, and yeah, that's all that he's got.
Do you have like any idea in which direction the big time is?
No, not at all.
Sorry, what was the question?
I asked if the show had any idea in which direction the big time was.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think you guys have any clue. I mean, it's all just like dark clouds up there, and kind of darkness below. All right, so you flip a bunch of switches, and for a second there, it seems like the engine like stalls completely, and after what seems like an eternity, but is just like a split second, all of a sudden some kind of like turbo kicks in, and a huge flame like jets out from the engine that's kind of cobbled on the end of this thing, and you guys go like shooting off into the clouds.
Perfect.
So you can, guys, do you want to end up back at the big time?
I would say that unless there is like another place that would make sense for us to be, then probably yes. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I'm amused by the fact that you just hit the burner and used up all the rest of your gas. And
like, I don't mind if we're like spinning in for a probably crash landing somewhere in the big show vicinity, big time vicinity. But like, I feel like just kind of herring off into some other adventure doesn't really make sense at the moment. So if there is another thing that is, you know,
all right, so let me tell you this. You right, yeah, you shoot off into the distance, or like this thing kicks off, and like all of a sudden you're like, and you kind of spiral around in through a cloud, and then after maybe like 30 seconds of you kind of flying completely blind, you like burst out into open sky, and you see kind of the masts and wires of the big time in the distance, past another kind of set of light clouds, but you're not entirely sure how you're supposed to slow this thing down again, and you seem to be pretty much barreling right at the big time like a missile.
Okay, yeah, that's good. What kind of like little ship things are on the like periphery of the big time? Like, give me some ideas of some of the little ships that are like on the edges, not the main portions.
Sure. So there's like always like people coming and going, right? But on the side that you're approaching from, you can see there's a like a string of smaller skiffs that probably travel in a little gang, that are like, they're almost like long, or like a big rowboat, but like with balloons tied to them. And there's like 5 of them that are kind of like cobbled together, and they're like strung along the side. And then slightly further down, there's a bigger, maybe like a large yacht size thing, made entirely out of these metal plates, that seems to be being kept aloft by 2 giant like fan rotors at each end of the ship. But it's like,
So listen, I wouldn't want to damage a yacht. So the show will carefully aim for the beautiful runway that's been created by these like 5 poor saps with their like little rowboat things, and is gonna try to bounce it like off of some of the balloons, and then end up like shearing across the things and probably killing several people, and ideally killing them in such a way that it like slows us down, as like breaks,
yeah, no doubt,
that kind of thing.
Are
so
any of them
give
cultists?
me another act under fire.
All right.
How did I know that's what was
Nope.
going to finally happen?
All right, I was secretly hoping for that.
Yep.
All right.
Oh,
So,
I think we were all secretly hoping for that.
Oh yeah.
All
No,
right.
I mean, like, this wasn't a plan that was destined to work.
To
All
go
right.
well.
So yeah, the show rolls a 4, which of course is, I believe it just says be prepared for the worst, but that kind of works out. So right, you try to, as to the best of your ability, to line it up to crash into these like big wooden boats, which you see that there's some like supplies down there, and you figure if you can land in like a pile of potatoes, it's better than the alternative. But as you feel like you almost have it lined up, there seems to be, again, you hear like a sputtering, and then all of a sudden the giant jet that was shooting out from behind you goes out, and as a result, you quickly see that you're not going to quite make it onto the rowboats. You're definitely gonna kind of shoot it, and you see there's a large wooden kind of boxy ship that's been tied up to the big time for God knows how long, with all kinds of like cables, and it's kind of integrated into the city at this point. And as luck would have it, you kind of undershoot these rowboats, and you see that you're aiming for an exhaust port, and you go kind of shooting right into the underbelly of this ship, and you like crash through like several walls, and come tumbling to a stop. And as I said, the show being the lucky person that he is, it seems that like Kefri managed to kind of tumble ahead of you and break your fall as you smash into
And his man.
a metal wall, and he's well, he will remain unconscious. Certainly, this hasn't helped
That's
that
convenient.
matter. And as you stand up, you kind of look around in this dark room, and all of a sudden you see these 2 giant yellow eyes staring back at you from across this room. I'm talking huge. And as the little bit of light that kind of filters down through the broken floorboards of the ship, you see a big black beak. It kind of, the light like glimmers off of this thing, and
Did you say beaky?
uh, and suddenly this creature like lets out a screech, a sound that like nothing you've ever heard, which is of course for the show like a thrilling event.
Impressive. Oh yeah, I'm very excited.
And
Ooh, I need to use that in my next show.
it's like I got to sample this.
Who is your manager? Because I am very interested in acquiring your services. Not for every show. That would be good.
He gets on. He pulls out of nowhere like a can that's attached to a string, and he says like, "Al, it's me, your cousin, the show. You know that new sound you've been looking for?
I found it."
So it lets out this screech, and then it like bursts through the floorboards up into the like main open area of the big time. And Cheval, you know, you see this from your viewing deck, whatever you have over on your kind of central ship. You see this giant monster like burst out of one of the ships on the periphery, and the same thing, Quell. You're kind of pondering your vision, and then all of a sudden, maybe it becomes all too painfully obvious what the vision might have been about, as you see this monster on the other side of the big time come crashing out, and again it lets out this like ear-piercing screech, and it seems to be like it's giant. It has these giant claws. It's like a humongous raven essentially, but like as big as a house almost. And it seems to be like stomping around, like unfurls its giant wings, and like grabs a person that like you can hear this like muffled scream as somebody tries to escape from it, and it like grabs it and just like tosses them aside.
Show it's seppuku.
What?
Everything's
going according to plan. This all seems good.
Cheval, this is kind of sort of your place. What's your reaction?
So Cheval's first reaction is to say, like, shit, I knew the war with the birds was not over. But in internal monologue, here's the thing you got to realize about Cheval. The big time is super sweet, and Cheval like poured blood, sweat, and tears into it to like, you know, by sheer force of will, make this the best flotilla around. So much better than La Flotilla. Those bastards. But like, it doesn't mean that the big time is like a good place to live in the sense of like, this is still a horribly dangerous floating city that is constantly under attack and constantly attacking other people in a post-apocalyptic world. And Cheval is like 20 years into his tenure as you know, just trying to make this place stay. And he's like a little bit broken by what he sees. He thought like maybe this shit was done with, that the birds were never coming back. But apparently he was unfortunately wrong.
All it takes is one egg.
What?
All it takes is one egg.
The biggest egg you've ever seen.
That's my fucking omelet.
So Cheval can only think of two things at that exact moment. The first is that the Dusters better be ready for another fight, and he like, you know, looks out over Feather like unloading stuff, and quickly shouts out or gets on his intercom or whatever, and is like, "You fucking fools! Like, take a look at that shit."
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing he thinks of is that he needs to get to the still.
Okay.
And make sure that the heart of the big time, the secret heart of the big time, is not in danger.
All right. So why don't you give me a go aggro for the
Sure.
Or actually no.
I'll give you whatever you want.
Whoa.
I got rolled 2d6, and then I'm just waiting for my modifier.
Well, you just want like the Dusters to attack, right?
Yeah, I want the dusters to like. I'm not even. How do I put it? Like, I'm not even just ordering them to attack. I'm like turning the situation over to them, and I'm going to deal with something else.
Okay, well, I mean, they're your gang, so you get to roll for them nonetheless. But sure, yeah, you're ordering Feather to gather up all the troops and deal with this less than fortunate situation. All right, so why don't you give me a seize by force then?
Okay, so that's a plus hard as well, right? So
yes.
All right, that's a 9.
All right, so you get to choose 2.
Okay.
Of you inflict terrible harm, you suffer little harm, you take definite and undeniable control of it, or you imprison, dismay, or frighten your enemy. And I'll say, in this case,
I don't feel like those last 2 are very viable.
Well, I'm going to modify them slightly. So I'm going to say that instead of taking undeniable control of it, the Dusters can maybe kind of contain their battle, so they can kind of like keep it engaged. And impress, dismay, or frighten your enemy. I'll leave that one alone, and you can deal with the consequences of a frightened giant bird. So yeah. So instead of so you can take control of it in that they can, if you want to choose that, they pin it to the area that it's in, or it's kept engaged with the gang.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm going to go with the mitigation ones. So I'm going to say that they suffer little harm and that they take the control as you've defined it. I'm going to say that what's nice about the Dusters and their incredible savagery and all that stuff is that while they can be a bit unruly, they're not. These are like bold, or not even bold, but basically fearless, even to the foolhardy extent, like dudes. And they're not afraid to like take on a giant bird. They're like, fuck yeah, giant bird. So they like immediately drop their stuff, rush over, and like, get into some kind of semblance of a formation and start like circling around it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So as you, I guess, start to descend and make your way to the still, you see that Feather has rounded up a couple of hardy gangers, and they've engaged this bird, and they seem to kind of sort of be keeping it in check, without taking casualties. They're like shooting at it and stuff like that, but as far as you can tell, all it's doing is kind of keeping it there. It doesn't seem like it's really hurting a whole lot.
Okay.
Quell, you see this as well, and the first thing you notice as you're watching this, you still have a bunch of people there that have yet to disperse, and you hear this muttering through the crowd of like people saying like it's happening, it's coming, this is the prophecy.
Well, Quell has obviously just seen this giant bird fly up and is pretty much thinking the same thing. I mean, he was giving a rousing speech and all of a sudden had this vision of being lifted up by what could be a giant bird such as that. And I mean, in visions, up is always good. Can't argue with that, right? Down is bad, up is good. So
that's just logic.
Yep. Yeah. So obviously, this bird is good, and we've got to work with this bird. So Quell is excited and is going to try to head out in the direction of the bird. And
okay, so you step out, and this crowd of people is still there, kind of blocking your path. So what are you doing to kind of make your way through?
I say, my children, the salvation that I spoke of has arrived. Did you not just witness the bird, the giant bird that will
I don't know. Also explain it, guys. It's right there. It's a bird, and it's fucking huge.
It will lift us. I've had a vision, and this bird is our savior. Come with me. Let's go to the bird.
All right, give me like a manipulate,
Okay.
and we'll see how.
Can it be seduce?
Well, you're trying to seduce the crowd here, I guess. You could try to seduce the bird later when you get closer. To it.
Oh, I don't think they're buying it.
Seducing them with the power of
Oh,
the
jeez.
dark side.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you're like, look at that gigantic world-destroying bird.
it's
a good
probably
thing.
good for you.
We got to go hang out with it. And they're like, no, please. Don't you remember the war with the birds?
Yeah, right as you're trying to see this, you can kind of tell that like nobody's really paying attention to you, because the bird has just like picked up one of the dusters in its beak and like flung it, and it comes like flying like all the way over by you, and this guy comes like crashing into the floor, kind of like split in half, right? Like this is just his like torso with the guts hanging out. Comes like sliding across the floor of the upper deck of the still, and like panic just erupts. This crowd, like everybody goes nuts. People are like climbing up, climbing down, trying to like flee in every direction.
It's like Cloverfield.
Yeah, it's like just there's no control at all. The show.
So the show has been making his way to the encore because if there was ever a time to play, this was the time. In the same way that Cheval seems disconcerted and perhaps dejected by the return of the birds, the show, who you might think would not be so happy, seems enlivened. His life has been ennui ever since the war ended. It's just concert after concert, and they're all the same. And he has longed for that chance to play against the backdrop of the screams again. So the show is going to make his way to the encore and gather Jesus and the 12 apostles, throw the lines over, and begin the process of warming up the encore to play.
Okay. Yeah, so right, since the dusters have kind of seemed to be at least occupying this bird for now, and doing so in an admirable fashion, you managed to kind of sneak down along the line of boats at the edge of the big time. You get onto the encore, and yeah, I mean you find Jesus and the 12 apostles kind of standing in awe. But you order them to cut the
Don't just
lines.
stand there. It's time. It's time.
They know the drill. So not like 10 seconds later, the encore is drifting free of the big time.
Excellent. So,
yeah, go ahead.
shall I crack open the world?
I don't see why not.
Believe it's time to crack open the world. So the show starts playing madly on the organ, and gouts of flame start to erupt from the organ pipes, which most of the people who are like transients to the big time will have never seen before, because that's not what happens at like the normal shows. This is a very special battle song that is only played for the war with the birds. And it's called Dropping Feathers. So the flame gouts shoot up, and these screeches come out of the organ that are actually very reminiscent of the sounds that the bird was making, like kind of anti that sound.
So you
Clearly
did
calling to the bird. I mean, like we've been in this war before, all right? I mean, like I'd never seen one quite that close and that angry. So that was a new experience. But I've been there.
We've been in situations just this bad before.
Just this bad before, and probably all died. So, yeah, I'm going to crack open the world.
Let's see how that goes.
Let's see how that goes
excited.
indeed.
It looks like Dave's already cracked open the world.
All right, that's a 9.
All right.
So I will suffer 1 harm AP loud, but I still do my thing. And the thing that I'm doing, the sound that happens when the crescendo of this song is reached, is the noise that my soul made when the worst happened, and I learned that I was still alive, and I was not alone. And as a result, all of the NPCs who hear it, which is everyone, because that's the way that the encore works, they now form a family. And MC, what do they do?
Sorry, let me find this. So the noise that your soul made when the worst happened.
And the family thing is for brutes. A family in parentheses is to close ranks or protect their own.
Right. I figured it was like situational.
Tell them all the NPCs. Do they have to all form one family?
I would. That's how I would interpret it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
But what I would say is that what the rule book says for family, right? Because it's under brutes. Family is to close ranks or protect their own. So, like, I don't think that it all has to be one family, but what everyone is going to be doing is like something on that spectrum.
Okay.
Right? Kind of like a closing of ranks, like pulling together.
Yeah. So out in as you kind of drift up above the big time, and this massive organ that is, you know, pretty much the encore that the ship is built around, starts playing, and you can, as you said, like, these are sounds that nobody has heard for a long time. So you can see these ancient pipes that don't actually, people probably thought like were just there for show, but like as it turns out, like they're there for a reason. This is a fully functional organ.
Fully armed and operational. Battle organ.
They come to life and make this soul-piercing sound, and as that happens, you see that almost in a trance, like two big groups are kind of formed. There is this giant bird, which is standing. It seems like it's kind of calmed down. It's like standing in the center of this the deck of a big ship, and it's starting to be surrounded by all these worshippers, who seem to be like forming like a wall around it, and are like chanting in a this ancient tongue that seems to go like unnaturally well with the music that's being played, and kind of across from them on the other side of the big time, there is the Dusters and the rest of the citizens. The Dusters have formed this kind of phalanx in front of them to kind of protect them as they see what's happening, and they await orders from Cheval. We'll say, so, I think, Cheval, you've made it over to the still, because that's where you want to go. And as you're there, you know, people are panicking, running away. Quell is there, and you guys are trying to get things under order. All of a sudden, you hear the show start to play, and you see this scene unfold in front of you.
Right. So that's the thing. Is I agree. I did want to go to the still. And I still want to be there, but what's happening now, as my soul is pierced by the show and his music and the response thereof from those around, Cheval starts thinking about the one thing about the big time that almost nobody knows. Certainly not the Dusters. Really, like, his advisor, who's like a weird bald dude with like a metal piece around his head that nobody understands what it does, who doesn't talk very much.
It's very important.
Yeah, he guy's super important. Like this city in the clouds could not run without him, basically. Anyway, there's a thing about the big time that not very many people know. So when Cheval was first putting it together, right, and he hasn't really had to think about this in a long time, but when he was putting it together, he realized that should the worst come to pass, should someone take over the big time or whatever, there's no like. First of all, there's no magic button he can push to get rid of invaders should they actually make it on board, and there's no magical self-destruct button here to like blow it up, nor is that what Cheval would want. But the closest thing Cheval did was he designed the big time. So it's interesting. You raised the camera at the beginning of the show to the bottom of the big time, and if you were looking at it carefully, you would have noticed that there's actually people that work down there, and they get paid the equivalent of like hazard pay, because the bottom of the big time is not very safe and secure. It's actually just like a tangle of ropes and all sorts of mishmash of things that have been used to cobble this together.
One misstep and you plummet to your untimely death. So
basically, and by misstep we mean like when you try to like float from one rope to the other, like if you mess up, you're just gone. Yeah. So anyway, the thing about the big time is it can be disassembled, because Cheval, in his infinite wisdom, eventually came to the realization that the only thing to do is not like for him to escape in his own private shuttle or whatever, but if the big time is not going to exist anymore, then it's not going to exist because he's going to dismantle it. And there's a system of like pulleys and all sorts of crazy things that will basically just sever the connections between all of the spots. And he does not have access to that system all the way over here at the still, but he thinks the still is perhaps still the most important part. So Quell's not there anymore, right?
No,
you left.
Still there.
Quell was planning on going
okay.
Well, say like you guys like run into each other as the Quell is trying to get towards this bird, and Cheval is trying to get there. Right at the edge of the still, you guys kind of run into each other.
So having run into Quell, Cheval like picks himself off the deck, shakes his head, and says, "Watch where you're going." "Oh, it's you, Quell. We seem to be in a bit of a pickle." Do I know what a pickle is? I don't know.
Have you seen the majesty of this bird that has arrived?
I say, I remember the majesty of the birds the last time, and I remember that we all almost died.
But this coincides with a vision I've had. And it seems that this bird could be the answer to our problems.
The answer?
Yes. How? I don't know. That's not important. We need
Don't worry about
to
that.
access this bird.
So you don't have the answer to the answer. I say, Quell, just so you know, the big time is not long for this world. And perhaps we should save the still?
The still will be fine. Of that, I am certain. But we must rise above the big time. We must transcend what we currently are. And this bird is the answer.
I say, if we transcend where we are, we'll hit the ionosphere and all die of asphyxiation.
I don't know what any of those words mean.
I'm not sure I do either. I read one of them in a book somewhere once. So Cheval at this time like seems a little bit dismayed, but he makes one last attempt. He says, Quell, the still is the most important thing to you on this flotilla, and this flotilla will not be in 10 minutes. And he like looks down at his, wrist sundial, and
you just kind of twist it around and change the time. Yeah, sure.
I say, Quell, this is your one chance to help me.
Help you destroy the flotilla?
Destroy? No. In fact, I'm going to save it by letting everyone go free. It's the only way to keep the big time intact is to break it apart.
But how? How do you know? What if there was another way? What if
I
this
know because
bird
I
was
know
the
it in my
answer?
bones. I've known it in my bones since the day that I put the button under my desk in my office that goes through a system of cables to ring a bell in the office of the guy who works down there, who, when he hears the bell, knows that it's time to dismantle the flotilla.
Wow.
Give me at least 15 minutes.
But I just said 10. Weren't you listening?
I've already rung the bell.
No, I can't ring it yet, but that's how long it's going to take me to get to my office after doing the secret things I need to do in the still.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just like taking a skinny dip.
Just, I need a bathe.
One last time.
All right. So,
So I'm not sure who's persuading whom here, because he wants me to give him 15 minutes and I want him to help me. So
if you guys want, you can roll a move. You could do a.
I'll help you if you give me 15 minutes.
we could just roll opposed persuade checks if you want. I don't know. You tell me.
Well,
Some kind
if
of
you,
checks thing.
I think whoever is trying to persuade you, if we're rolling to see whether Quell can persuade you to give him an extra few minutes, I think Quell would roll the manipulate. And
all right,
then,
that's fine.
So why don't we do that? So
Well, manipulate me, like you did that crowd a minute ago.
Oh, not talking about that. Did better this time, though.
what'd you get?
Did you? No. You?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess technically you did, but like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right, where are we going? What am I helping you with?
So, yeah, Quell like rambles on about how the bird is the answer.
Yeah.
And Cheval is like, I don't have fucking time for this. This is just nonsense. Like the birds are murderers. And you realize actually that the seconds are ticking away here. And I guess Quell, you realize pretty quickly. Or maybe you don't realize, but it doesn't seem like Cheval has any interest whatsoever in your like mad ramblings, or as you think your like divine prophecy. You know,
yeah, same thing.
Potato.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I guess Cheval, you want to go down into the still?
Yeah. I think that like doing whatever we need to do down there to secure that when the big time breaks apart, that the still is intact.
Okay.
Right. Like this is not like a comfortable procedure where everything just like gently drifts apart. But like, I don't care if some people, lose their balloons and crash to the earth. I care if like this still is still up here in the air.
And Quell, what do you want to do? You want to try to get to the bird?
Yep.
Okay. So.
That's
a fair
assessment.
Quell,
Bird.
Quell, you feel like you have like what you're saying makes like perfect sense, and you just continue towards the bird, like assuming that Cheval is following you, which of course he's not, because he rushes into the still, and as you get to the door of like the main entrance to the still, the inside where like the actual water production is ongoing. You like turn around to take another look at Quell, and in the distance, you see a bunch of what you just perceived to be black dots that seem to be getting
black dots anywhere.
Just a little bit larger as they're coming closer to you.
That's no swarm of birds.
Those are no birds. So give me a couple things, Cheval. First of all, what
Seppuku. Seriously.
What are you doing down inside the still?
Well, so Quell, you had a couple like main name followers that like run the still for you, kind of. Is one of them down here?
Yeah, probably all of them are.
So there was Treetop and somebody else. And a third person?
Jasper and
wasn't there a woman?
Kem, I believe. So there's Kem the brewer, Treetop the healer, and Jasper the weird one.
Yeah, okay, so definitely Jasper, the weird one. I approached Jasper, right? He and I have talked like once, and I say like, Jasper, the big time is about to go for a big ride. The still must not be damaged. Quell has ordered that everything be secured.
All right, give me a manipulate. Let's see whether he believes you.
Is that sharp or no? That's hot. Oh no, is it? Does it depend on the situation whether it's sharp or hot? I don't remember.
It's hot.
It's hot. Okay. All right. Let's see. How hot am I? All right. That's a 10.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
So on a 10, yeah,
He's
they'll,
both
they'll,
seduced and manipulated.
he knows that you and Quill have a relationship, and he has no reason to doubt you, so he goes along with you.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that, like, I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's worth like going into the details, but I want to make sure that they like, you know, batten down the hatches and like tighten all the ropes and like say their special incantations over the still and stuff like that. So that because I'm like superstitious about this, right? Like,
Okay,
this is the
so you're
water
like
of
giving them order to like make the whole place as secure as they can.
Yeah, like basically what they would do if there was some kind of emergency and they had to disconnect from the big time in general. I'm just warning them, like, not like I'm going to warn anybody else, basically, but I'm warning them, like, shit's about to go down. Get this place in order.
Okay. All right, so they'll start making preparations on your orders. And then before we jump to Quell, what is Feather doing? The Dusters.
So Feather and the Dusters are, you know, fighting the bird, like trying to circle it. Lala and her like 10 Dusters that watch the marketplace are like running up to join the fight.
Okay. So as I said, like now the bird has been kind of joined by these faithful, shall we call them,
sure,
that are engaging the Dusters, kind of on behalf of the bird. The bird seems to be
I could roll my leadership move, having ordered them to like attack on my behalf. I could roll my leadership and like stat out the what options I'll have for the fight.
Yeah, leadership. You sure you have
right.
some kind of communication device that you can.
Well, I mean, I think it's mostly when they're fighting on my behalf, and since I like ordered them to do it, basically.
Well, we'll say this, as you said, since Lala's kind of coming to their aid with the rest of the Dusters. You ran past her on your way to the still,
sure.
and gave her orders, and she's bringing those to the rest of the gang.
That's a 14. That is a double crit.
So what does that mean for leadership?
That means that I get to hold 3, and the things that I get to hold. Sorry, I'm just picking. All right, so I'm gonna choose that. They're gonna hold the option to make a hard advance. I'm gonna mark this down so I remember what. So they're gonna retain the option to make a hard advance. Yeah, show mercy to their defeated enemies. Fuck that. They're gonna have fight and die to the last.
Okay.
And how about make an organized retreat?
If need be.
Yeah, if need be, or maybe in between advancing and fighting to the last, maybe they'll make an organized retreat because you know one of them comes up with the idea of like let's regroup. All right, so those are the holds, and I'm going to spend them, I guess, as the fight progresses.
So
up to you how that goes.
They're going to engage these cultists. Give me a seize by force.
Sure. It's a 9.
Okay, so again, inflict terrible harm, suffer little harm, take definite and undeniable control of it, or dismay.
Yeah, I mean, if this is them.
You get to choose 2.
This is them making a hard advance.
I guess you get a +1 from making a hard advance.
Oh, I don't know. It just says spend the holds 1 for 1 as the battle progresses to do this. They're just holds like normal. Like this is what they're doing. This is the action they're trying to take. I'm glad I never noticed the line that says on a miss for your leadership role, your gang turns on you.
Oh, yeah.
Never noticed that one.
Okay. So sure. So you get a 9. what are your
Right,
choices?
they're making
for
a hard
C-spec
advance.
force?
Let them take like inflict terrible harm and frighten or dismay their enemies. But I will like sort of direct that towards the like what I'm now going to call cultists.
Yeah. So the cultists, the bird seems like eerily calm. It's like wings are down alongside. It's just standing there.
Right.
This giant thing, like jet black, like a bizarrely like you staring at it. You almost like you see more of like an outline than anything else. It's like this color of black that doesn't seem to like defy physics, or it seems to defy physics. So it's like standing there, and
It's like Vanta black. It's soaking up like 90% of all light rays or whatever.
Yeah. And these cultists come up and they engage the dusters on behalf of the bird, I guess, or
Sure.
because of whatever they've been told. But the dusters, there's one thing they know. It's how to like kick regular people's asses. So they like destroy their way into these cultists, and like just hack a ton of them to pieces. And what's left of them seems to be kind of like scattering away.
And keep in mind that like, yeah, my gang is savage, but like Feather himself is ultra savage and also is into like bird stuff, right? That's why he's got like a feather jacket or whatever. So like,
Loves him some
like-
bird stuff.
No,
He's
I
like
mean,
not fucking
Feather
around.
Feather is gonna wear this bird's head like a fucking mask or something like that.
yeah, like
That's-
he's not fucking around right now.
He needs to
He's
get
like-
in there and harvest everything.
Yeah.
So Quell, you're on your way to the battle, and you see this scene as you kind of make your way closer. The dusters are engaged with the faithful, and they're taking a real beating.
So Quell is really not interested in either the cultists or the dusters, paying them pretty much no attention and walking, in a straight line towards the bird, as much as possible. And when gets to a pretty good vantage, I mean, he just sees the bird and takes it in, and he's awestruck by the majesty of it and how clearly it seems to resemble his vision, and he opens his mind to the void.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of walk through this fray, and it's a bizarre thing because even though there's all this chaos, you're still this kind of revered figure on board the Big Time, and the chaos seems to just split for you, and allowing you to walk through. And before long, you find yourself standing in front of this massive creature. It's standing like eerily still, and then suddenly, with like a snap almost, it turns its head down and stares at you. In the middle of its head, in the middle of this jet black figure, are these burning yellow eyes that like stare right back at you. So give me a roll, give me a open your brain, and let's see what happens.
All right, 7.
7. Okay. So I think that's it. Yeah, give you an impression. So you stare into its eyes, and what is a split second seems to stretch, as you feel this bond, unspoken bond that seems like it's always been there between you and giant creature, and the only thing that like rings in your head, like the only thing that you're sure of in that second, is that you have to go with the bird, with this creature, and you see this impression, and the bird in front of you remains essentially unmoving.
Can I climb the bird?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude.
I'm gonna
So
How long you
yeah,
been waiting to say that?
you like approach it slowly, and it seems like you kind of grab these big feathers and climb aboard, and the bird it seems like it like kneels down a little bit, or like bends down so that you can kind of climb up under its wing onto its back. The show music is playing. I guess you have the ultimate vantage point from up here, so you can kind of see all this going on. And
Yes.
well, we'll say that also because of your vantage point, you also see the black dots in the distance approaching rapidly.
Can I tell what they are?
Why don't you read a sitch for me?
Reading some kind of sitch or something? No. I am distracted.
Well, so you still get to ask one of the questions on a miss, but
Right.
also have to prepare for the worst. You guys
Well,
have been
I'm always
off with
prepared
your
for the
rolls today.
Yeah.
About that.
Start
One of
off good.
those- One of those days.
Um,
Hold on a second. Okay. So. Which enemy is the biggest threat?
Well, the bird is literally the largest thing here.
For the moment.
So I'll ask you this before I answer.
Okay.
What does the show like? What is it that the show really cares about?
Is it
Himself.
the show?
The show really cares about the show. Like, it's important that not everyone be dead because someone needs to be there to appreciate the music.
Mm-hmm.
But like, other than that, it's that the show be the most grand event that is possible, which has not been true until just now.
All right. I think to the show, then, I think the gnats are the bigger threat. This bird seems like you can see that it's not like this crazy monster that's just hell bent on destroying everything it sees. Right? It seems remarkably calm, even though there's like this chaos unfolding below you. And I mean, you can even see somebody down there has managed to climb on top of the bird, and the bird seems to be okay with that. But you see the gnats, and you know from experience that the gnats, all they want is to take as much as they can, kill everybody, and enslave like enough people that they keep them fresh so they can eat something like that. They have no interest in keeping survivors, and you know that they are not appreciators of music. So
Okay.
Or really art of any kind.
Yeah, so I am going to change up the song because I think we've accomplished what we wanted to with Drop the Feathers.
okay.
And it's time to alert everyone to the new melody that's become part of the symphony. So let's roll that weird. All right, we scrape by.
All
I'm
right. That
still
counts as,
damaging my eardrums,
I
but
think that counts as a good roll considering this session.
compared to the rest of what I've been doing. So the like crazy weird old pipes that had been playing start to fade a little bit into the background. There's still music coming from them, and the flames are still there, but they've kind of changed. And what really changes is the beat. Where before it had been this kind of like thrumming sound, now it starts to pulse faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Is it gonna drop?
And as the beat drops, everyone hears the sound that the ancient bronze armies made, beating spears on shields as they advanced. And so I can give people who are seizing by force, or variations thereof, +1 choice when they do that. And
I thought you were gonna do like a beat that just never drops, and the Nats are driven.
Everybody
away.
just
Evan-
goes
yeah,
insane.
but
They're
then
like,
everyone-
when is it gonna drop?
Then everyone would be driven insane, including. Listen, we don't want that. All right. I have a song that does that. That's not what we want to do right here. So yeah, he'll start firing the troops for their new challenge.
I like that.
Okay. So I'll I guess you just let me know when somebody's seizing by force. You jump in and say like this is the time.
All right.
Cheval.
Nope.
I guess the still is being made ready, and shit's going down. What is Cheval doing? And give me 1 second actually.
Okay. Who knew that the show was actually like the savior of the big time?
You bite your tongue, all right? I am currently riding our savior right now. So.
Everybody knew that the show was the savior of the big time.
I mean, I knew that. Like Cheval hasn't like kept you around and had the encore be like the main thing on the big time for like 15 years for no reason, but still, he's impressed. Like he's coming back up out of the still, and he hears the music change, and he's like, "My God, I haven't heard that song in forever." But I have to get to that button.
You're muted.
Sorry. So is that what Cheval is doing? Cheval is back in his office.
Yeah. Once Cheval is sure that the still is going to be, I mean, you have to understand, like Cheval wants the still to be safe so that like he can survive, but also just so that like it's not like humanity, but it's more like Cheval thinks of the big time as like the only really important thing in the sky. And anybody who lives there, even if they've just been here for a day to like shop at the market or whatever, like he feels protective of them. And he needs like some of them to survive. So the still must go on.
It is.
So as soon as
it very much is the big time. There isn't another one.
Yeah, so as soon as he's like sure that things are probably going to go okay because the three of the acolytes of Quell are handling shit, he's gonna like book it, stirred on by the new song of the show. And he goes running like as hard as he can, like diving up gangplank, like stretching those leg muscles like he hasn't really had to. And in fact, as he's like getting closer to his office, like the wind gusts and catches him, and his hat flies off and like away towards the other side of the big time. Perhaps never to be seen again. Who knows? Maybe the MC knows.
But yeah,
so he's like diving for his office.
Yeah, in the chaos, the big time is yours, as you said. Like, there's nobody who really knows it better than you. So you're kind of diving through like secret passages and hidden doorways and little hallways, exhaust ports, and what have you. You make it back to your office in double time.
Okay, so I really only want to do two main things in my office. Three main things. Sorry, jeez, that was close. The first is to down like a triple of scotch. Mm-hmm. The second is to press the button that I hoped I would never have to press, which through a complicated series of like ropes and rubber bands and stuff rings a bell in the office of the guy whose sole job it is to like know when I ring the bell.
It's just
how long ago did he die?
It's like for 30 years that guy's been sitting down there with nothing to do.
And then, when he like got really old, he like passed it on to his son, and his son like started to so like there's always somebody there.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I want to press the button to ring the bell.
Okay.
And the third thing I want to do is like step out onto my balcony, survey the fight going on, and I'm gonna like cut my hands and shout out to Feather and the Dusters like, regroup, the Gnats are coming.
Okay. Yeah, you have. I imagine you have some kind of like loudspeaker or bullhorn or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to have like a megaphone. I don't think it's
you're let's say you're like patched into this like network of megaphones. You can kind of let your voice be heard throughout.
Yeah, I mean, if I need to make an announcement like the lunch in the cafeteria today, or like regroup, we're all about to die, I can do those on here. But yeah, I mean, considering that they have the like retreat in an organized manner, I want to kind of use that so that they'll like regroup and prepare for a completely different fight.
Okay.
Perhaps matters.
So I have a question. Because I feel like it would be improper to gloss over the guy in the office
Oh yeah,
who
yeah.
is now faced with a Stanislav Petrov moment, right? Like, is this a false alarm? What does he think? And does he go ahead with what he's supposed to do?
I mean, I have my own thoughts on that, but I guess it's up to the MC.
Do we? Why don't we do a? Why don't you give me a manipulate?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say like let's like play Netrunner and whoever wins like.
I don't think we have the time for it.
Yeah.
Nope. We'll play Speed Netrunner.
A manipulate, huh? Okay, good. I need this even more than I needed the freaking 14 that I rolled in the other. Okay, manipulate this guy. Yes, it's a 7.
Oof.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna have to offer him some kind of concrete assurance.
So,
Concrete
you
assurance is
you
that
like
I previously threatened to like castrate him if he doesn't do what I say when the bell rings.
Oh, we can do that. That like you're like paranoid about these things, and you've like drilled these people. That's fine. So, you like pull your little lever. I guess you press your button, right? And this guy sitting down in the bowels of your ship, the core of the big time.
For like,
He's
the,
like-
the camera would like pan from like the string that's attached to that button out into the world, and like it would zip past like the battle going on and all the horrible sounds and the bird and like the sun beating down on us and all this stuff, and it would just like suddenly dive through a quick tunnel and then just be in this tiny room and you could barely see anything and you hear like
Yeah. No, and this guy is like he's like rocking out because like this the show is dropping all these like crazy tunes, right? And all of a sudden it seems like it like goes quiet as this bell is heard that like this guy knows that like Cheval drills the shit out of him and pulls these like stupid drills where
no, the
like,
show was right about the whole like Pavlov's dog thing. Like this guy like grabs at his testicles to make sure he's not getting castrated, and then like presses the button that decouples the big time because he is so indoctrinated.
And you know, with a bead of sweat rolling down the side of his face, he like unlocks this box or this cover over a section of this panel in front of him, and you see one of those big like lever things, like covered in dust and kind of like rusted, and he pulls it. It comes loose and creaks as he like slides it to the other position, and as soon as it kind of like clicks into position, all of a sudden like all across the big time you start hearing like hydraulic things, pumps going off, letting off steam, these clamps decoupling. All of a sudden, like just like an earthquake almost, it like rumbles through the big time as things start to detach from each other. You know, ropes and couplings that have been secured for decades probably are at long last coming loose.
Well, that's why I imagine it's not like a gentle thing, right? Because like over the decades, as new stuff has been added, we've come up with like more efficient ways to be like, okay, yeah, hook you into the like emergency decoupling network. But some of the old stuff is like, it's probably some of the old stuff maybe like it's gonna rip apart. Things are gonna like stay connected by accident and like spin off in the wrong direction and crash into each other. Like it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah, I mean the main ship of the big time kind of seems to get free, but you can definitely tell, you know, as you're standing out there on your balcony taking giant swigs from your bottle of whiskey, that there are like patches of the big time that are not coming apart, like boats that are still attached that might have been like kind of jury rigged together for whatever reasons. Like slowly over time, people build these boats together and stuff like that. And as a result, all of a sudden, when they don't have the massive engines of the center part holding them up, they are starting to like lose altitude or listing, or like some of them are even like drifting up because now they're lighter than like the engine compartment that they were attached to and stuff like that. So you see this in front of you, and you see the dusters preparing as the gnats are like barreling in. There are you reformed them. They're like ready for this battle, and like they've brought out their big gun. So give me a.
Yeah, I mean it's time for my third hold. Fight and die to the last. Like these guys will, Feather himself is gonna like wrap the rope of whatever piece of the big time that he's still standing on like around him so that he cannot fall off or whatever, and he will like make his stand there.
Okay.
And defend the big time.
Give me a seize by force.
All right. It's a 9.
Okay,
so
again,
I'll do the same thing. I'll do like inflict terrible harm and like frighten and dismay my enemies, and I believe more than that.
Yes, because this is spurred on by the music. It is the time is now. And so you will get one additional choice.
I will say that they will also take control of the situation. I definitely don't think this is a moment where they're going to suffer little harm, because I think the Dusters are basically going to go out fighting here, but they're going to like really take everyone with them.
Okay. Yeah. So because of your direction, they're kind of lined up and ready for the Gnats as they come zooming in. And as the Gnats kind of like come down from above, all of a sudden you see them like they like these like big like 50 cal machine guns pop up and just unleash this hail of gunfire, and you see these hover bikes that the Gnats are on, like one by one, are like bursting into flame, or at least like the kind of the front rank just like spectacularly blows up. But of course the Gnats, as their moniker might indicate, are very many. So like the second wave comes in, and people are like, you can see like Gnats like crashing into the center of the Dusters, and soon enough like a massive brawl is undergoing out at the edge as the whole ship is splitting apart. And you can see the Dusters and the Gnats are heavily engaged. And what does Quell do?
Well, as I sit astride this magnificent bird,
what's its name?
What?
What's the bird's name?
Beaky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said that before.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You did say that before.
And it really just is, trying to commune with the bird and trying to become one
in private with that bird.
So I'll tell you this: you
energy.
seem like you and the bird have a link through.
It's Chloe.
No, like a psychic link through the maelstrom. Like your minds are one, and you seem like you can essentially direct the bird, or you're not quite sure actually whether you are you or the bird at this point. You seem like
you have a severe craving for seeds.
So I mean, I see the Gnats coming, and I'm really Quell just wants to protect and wants to fight back, and so he's thinking that and willing that, and maybe the bird takes off. Maybe maybe.
No, the bird like almost as you think, like you're like I need to go and like engage the Gnats. I need to protect the big time. The bird like throws out its wings, and with a mighty swoop it like shoots like straight up almost and comes around. And why don't you give me another seize by force, and we'll if the show allows, we'll let the +1 apply to this as well.
The music like
Absolutely.
crescendos at the exact right moment.
Is
the ancient pipes groan and kick into extra force as the bird
plus hard
calls to them.
Getting plus hard riding that bird.
all right?
All right, what'd you get?
All right, what happened?
You got it.
Okay, you did it.
An 8. Okay, so you get to choose 2 from inflict terrible harm, suffer little harm, or take definite and undeniable control of it, or impress, dismay, or frighten your enemy.
We're gonna go. I mean, for one, impress and frighten the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
as they should be, and 2 would be inflict great harm.
Okay, yeah. So I'm pretty much treating this bird as like a big gang of its own. So as you see the gnats kind of coming in this disorganized but like swarm of a formation, right? And all of a sudden, these 50 cal machine guns open up from the deck of the Big Time and start shredding the first rank. But it's not enough, and the gnats start to are like landing and engaging the dusters. But you see, bringing up the rear is one guy standing out by his bright white like leather uniform, riding a bike that seems larger, surrounded by a couple of slightly larger guys, and you pick out this guy as obviously the head gnat, the leader of the gnats, and you come kind of swooping in.
We call him the flea.
And the bird, like the gnats are too focused on what's going on in front of them, and they don't realize until too late that the giant bird that they obviously saw take off is coming in for like a diving run on them, and kind of like swoops past them, clawing at gnats as it goes by, and it like manages to grab this leader guy in one of its claws, and you can hear like the muffled scream of this person underneath his mask, as his bones are being crushed by the giant claw. That again, like you have this link. Like obviously you are holding on to the back of this bird, but it is like you are seeing through its eyes, and it is like this person is in your hand, and you can like feel his bones like crush between your fingers.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I guess the show. Do you want to maybe round us out here?
Yes,
Yes,
the show plays the final song of the set, the fugue finale, where the music has been steadily increasing in speed. You know, our entry song was thrumming but slow and building, and then there was the pulsing of the war drums. Now it bursts into the full fugue that you would recognize from classical organ music, except there are sounds in it that have never been produced by any instrument on Earth, let alone any organ.
Like half the people's heads just explode on the Big Time.
The flames that were coming out have now begun to turn blue and then to go, clear. Like you can't see them anymore, but you can see the distortions in the air, so you know that they're still happening. And as this reaches its peak, the gnats all hear the noise in the heart of a doomed soldier when he realizes that he has lost everything that he loved. And my enemies panic.
Okay.
So let me roll to make sure it happens, but
yeah, let's see.
No, come on, just fucking say it happens.
So here's the thing: it happens no matter what, because on a miss I still do it.
Oh, okay.
On a miss, like more people get hurt.
Okay, that's fine with me. I was gonna say like.
So yes, it's even better. So not only do I take my 1 harm AP loud, everyone within reach of me suffers 1 harm AP loud.
It's like everybody.
Okay. So that's just everybody, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So this sound, this new song kind of rumbles out, and you can almost like feel the sound waves like echoing out from the encore that's kind of like high above this fray, playing its music down from below, and people have like some people seem like spurred on by this. Some people seem to just stop and like hold their heads. You can see some people like blood starts oozing out of their like eyes and nose and stuff like that. The gnats, the remaining gnats are scrambling to try to leave the battlefield, as they've been pretty much mostly cut down. Their leader has been crushed and probably eaten by a giant bird. And
Splash the person on top of him.
And the remaining dusters who have also suffered great losses are essentially like gunning them down as they try to escape. Um, but yeah, this sound ends up adding to the chaos. You know, like as I said, the big time is splitting apart as all this is happening, and of course there's like two people who knew this was going to happen. So the
Me and the dude.
you and
Doesn't
the
even have
dude.
a name.
And well, I guess Quell's like so bored and it's kind of sort of had a clue. But well, so right,
Quell too.
yeah. Well, and Quell's fine, right? But he's kind of one with this bird. He's flying around like having a little gnat snack. The main ship of the big time that Chevelle is on is kind of floating up above everything. And as people are trying to like prepare their ships and break off, if at all possible, they're like fighting through this pain, this noise that is like piercing their brains, and you can see ships that seem to like engine compartments are bursting into flame, like things are listing and eventually flipping. You see like the fires as they drift down into the clouds and fog below. A few ships seem to be like kind of sort of making it off. Some are staying afloat but are obviously damaged. And I think
So if you'll indulge me,
sure,
I
certainly
have
will.
a specific ending for Cheval that I really want.
Okay, all right, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Tie in the hat, please.
The massive flames from the Encore, right, have really like changed the trajectory of the entire flotilla, even as it was like starting to break up. And Cheval, like head pounding from the horrible pain / everything going on, he finally sees a thing that he's been hoping to see like basically all 20 years that the big time has existed, which is like just coming into view like below is the top of a mountain that is above the like clouds of fumes from the earth. And there's like, he can see just enough to see there's like a beautiful mountain stream, and there's like caves, and, you know, maybe a hint of like grass in the snow, like, you know, just on this top of a mountain. And like, without really thinking, he just grabs a piece of flotsam, like, like a panel from one of the ships that's breaking apart, climbs on top of it, and jumps off, hoping against hope that, you know, as I said, the ease of floating these days, even on metal, which is increased by the gas, will like just traject him safely onto the mountain. And as he like disappears into the distance, not knowing what happens, we see a little girl on one of the few remaining ships, like, you know, her parents like trying to pull her along so they can finish the decoupling and take off into the sunset. And she looks down and sees some strange object, picks it up and puts it on her head, this beautiful new Carmen Sandiego hat that she found. And that's all.
All right, that's a good exit for Cheval. Quell, do you want to tell us what becomes of Quell?
Quell's ending is so built in. He's fucking one with a gigantic bird.
Yeah, I mean,
what becomes of the bird?
Right?
Yeah,
the bird eats you, and you become its third eye.
this is like a happily ever after situation.
Yeah.
All right.
Quell's still flying to this day.
Somewhere,
He's
and they
out there.
say that to this day, Quell still flies the skies.
And what about the
I
show?
want to know what happens to the show. I mean, God, the Encore, like, does the show just go on forever? Like, the Encore floats alone in the skies playing?
Oh, I'm sure that the show reconnects with whoever survives, because, as I said, there must be an audience.
That's true. It's true.
Always on the hunt for the
someday,
audience.
you finally meet another ship, and you see the person there is like holding an egg, and you're like, all right, you may be my audience.
It begins again.
Here's what I really need to
around.
know: did Jesus Christ and the 12 Apostles survive?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
they're playing their hearts out.
Okay.
And I guess even the Kem and Treetop and Jasper are all good. I guess maybe one of them
We're
becomes
pretty
the new
We're
water
pretty clear
bearer.
though, that Kefri died though, right? Because like he was unconscious.
Seems.
and-
Yeah, listen, you can never tell with Kefri. I would say that the likelihood is he's not dead.
Like,
It'd be
okay,
surprising.
It's
if
one of
he
those
were.
things where like it really like all all evidence points to him suffering some terrible, horrible end where he like dies burned up in the hull of some ship as it drifts into the clouds below.
Nice.
But if he
But
turns
you
up
never know.
somewhere, like you're not really going to be that surprised, right? Like,
Yeah. As long as he doesn't show up on my mountain, assuming I'm alive, which I don't want to know.
you land on the mountain and there's a beetle there, and you're like,
Fuck! Poison fumes, here I come!
Yeah.
anyways,
All right,
I
nice job.
believe we have run out of time, so I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
We'll skip past the end of session moves because I think we're done. But that will
You all
be
know me better.
yes. Everybody knows everybody better and worse. I don't know. Quill's a bird now, so
Maybe we know him less well. Yeah.
The bird knows him really well, though.
but that will conclude our little Apocalypse World Rotten Skies mini campaign. I guess thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed this, you should go catch the other episodes and everything else we do on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/livefrombeyond. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you should definitely come catch us live every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern at twitch.tv/livefrombeyond. That's it.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys, and thank you, Kim. Nice job.
Night, y'all.
Good night.